I woke up to the sensation of cold air on my neck, where there should have been the familiar, comforting weight of my hair. Before I even opened my eyes, my hand flew to my head in a panic, fingers searching through what felt like coarse, uneven straw instead of the smooth, waist-length curtain I'd carefully braided before bed. The pillowcase felt gritty against my cheek, and when I managed to pry my eyes open, I saw why. It was littered with dark, wispy strands of my own hair, scattered across the white cotton like casualties on a battlefield. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic, terrified rhythm. The room smelled faintly of my mother's Chanel No. 5, a scent that usually meant comfort but now felt invasive, wrong. And underneath it, the sharp, metallic tang of scissors. I stumbled out of bed, my legs unsteady, and lurched toward the vanity mirror. The sight that greeted me stole the breath from my lungs. My hair, my beautiful chestnut brown hair that I'd spent years growing, that my fiancé loved to run his fingers through, that was supposed to be my crowning glory as the maid of honor at my sister's wedding today, was utterly destroyed. It had been hacked off in savage, uneven chunks, some pieces grazing my jawline, others sticking out at bizarre angles barely an inch long. It looked like a wild animal had attacked me in my sleep. Tears of pure, unadulterated shock welled in my eyes, blurring the monstrous reflection. And then I saw them, placed neatly in the center of my vanity, right on top of the lace runner, were my mother's dressmaking shares. And next to them, a small, cream-colored note card with a message written in her perfect, looping handwriting. My dearest Clara, you know how important today is for Isabella. She needs to shine without any comparisons. This is for the best. A little less vanity will do you good. Now you can focus on supporting your sister, which is all that truly matters. Be a good girl. With love, Mother. The note fluttered from my numb fingers. The sleepy time tea she so insistently brought me last night, it hadn't been about calming my nerves. It had been a calculated move to knock me out. My own mother had drugged me and then mutilated me. Also, my perfect older sister, Isabella, wouldn't have a single moment of competition on her wedding day. I was supposed to wear a deep violet gown that complemented my hair and eyes. I was supposed to stand beside her, proud and happy. Now, I was a ruined thing. I clutched at the jagged ends of my hair, a sob catching in my throat. This wasn't just hair. It was my confidence, my identity, the one thing about myself I had always been proud of. I walked into the kitchen like a ghost. My father was at the table reading the newspaper. He glanced up over his reading glasses, his gaze sweeping over my devastated hair. He didn't flinch. He didn't look surprised. He simply nodded, a faint, approving smile touching his lips. "Ah, you're awake. I see your mother took care of the situation. Much better, Clara. Much more appropriate. Today is about Isabella's beauty, not a contest." My mother turned from the stove, where she was scrambling eggs. She wore a serene smile, as if she'd simply helped me pick out a dress. "It had to be done, darling. You were becoming too obsessed with your appearance. This way, no one will be distracted from the bride. It's a relief, really." They spoke about it as if they trimmed split ends. The cold, casual cruelty of it made me dizzy. I was their second choice, the backup daughter, and they had literally cut me down to size to ensure their favorite's day was perfect. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in the comments where you're from, because what I did next would change everything forever. I fled to the bathroom, locked the door, and called my fiancé Mark. I could barely get the words out. He was at my house in under 10 minutes. When I opened the door, the color drained from his face. His expression shifted from confusion to horror and then to a cold, hard fury I had never seen in him. "Your parents," he said, his voice dangerously quiet. It wasn't a question. I just nodded, tears streaming down my face. He pulled me into a fierce hug, then held me at arm's length, his hands on my shoulders. Okay, listen to me. We are not letting them get away with this. We are not hiding you. We are going to turn their cruelty into your power. He helped me think, and then I remembered. For months, I'd been voice recording conversations with my family for my therapist, trying to make sense of the constant microaggressions. I scrolled through my phone with trembling fingers and found it. A recording from just 2 weeks ago. My mother's voice was crisp and clear. Isabella's wedding dress is exquisite. You'll need to be careful, Clara. That violet dress you chose with your hair, people might look at you instead of the bride. We can't have that. We'll think of something to balance it out. Hearing it now, with the evidence of that something ravaging my head, it was a smoking gun. It was premeditated. Mark looked at me, his eyes blazing with determination. You're going to the wedding, and you're going to give a speech they'll never forget. He drove me to an elite salon downtown, to a stylist he knew who specialized in transformative cuts. The stylist, a woman named Elena, with kind eyes and a no-nonsense attitude, gasped when she saw me. Who did this to you, honey? My family. She nodded, a grim set to her jaw. Then let's give you a new one. She couldn't save the length. Instead, she sculpted what was left into a breathtaking, edgy pixie cut, sharp and sophisticated. She styled it with a defiant sweep that framed my face. When she was done, I didn't look like a victim. I looked like a star. I looked powerful. I arrived at the wedding venue, a lavish estate, my head held high. I wore the violet gown. I saw the moment my parents spotted me. My mother's smile froze and shattered. My father's face darkened. Isabella looked momentarily confused, then furious that I hadn't crumbled. When it was time for the maid of honor speech, I walked to the microphone, my heart pounding, not with fear, but with a steady, righteous anger. I looked out at the 300 guests, all their friends, our family, the entire world they were so desperate to impress. Thank you all for coming to celebrate Isabella and David. I began, my voice clear and carrying. A polite smile touched the faces in the crowd. My parents relaxed slightly, thinking I was playing my part. It's a beautiful day, but before I toast the happy couple, I need to explain why I look the way I do today. I held up my mother's scissors, which I had brought with me. They caught the light. Earlier this morning, while I was unconscious from a sedative my mother slipped into my tea, these were used to cut off all my hair. A wave of gasps and murmurs rippled through the room. My father shot to his feet. Clara, that's enough. Sit down. It's not nearly enough, I said, my voice cutting through his. I held up my phone. My mother's voice, plodding and cold, echoed through the sound system for everyone to hear. The silence that fell was absolute and horrified. I saw guests recoil. I saw the look of disgust directed at my parents. Isabella was staring at them, her face a mask of dawning comprehension and horror. They wanted me to be smaller so Isabella could look bigger. They tried to break my spirit by destroying something I loved about myself, but they failed because today I learned that my worth was never in my hair. It's in my voice, and I'm using it now. I didn't storm out. I finished my speech, toasting my sister with the grace they never thought I possessed. But the damage was done. Their perfect facade was obliterated. The video of my speech went viral, but my revenge was just beginning. I started a YouTube channel, then a nonprofit organization for survivors of familial emotional abuse, turning my pain into a global platform for healing. I became a voice for the unseen daughters. A year later, I was invited to give a TEDx talk about reclaiming your identity after trauma. The talk was called The Cut That Set Me Free. As I stood on that stage under the bright lights, my short hair styled elegantly, speaking to a captivated audience, I was the most powerful version of myself I had ever been. My parents' attempt to diminish me had launched me into a life they could have never imagined. The best revenge wasn't hatred. It was a success so profound that their cruel act became nothing more than the first sentence of a story about my triumph. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in the comments where you're watching from.